Hey guys, what's happening? Roy White at RW3 on Twitter with another video for the channel, and I wanted to get straight into the latest rumors surrounding the Dallas Cowboys concerning, first and foremost, the one and only All-Pro safety Jamal Adams. Now, if you're a Cowboys fan who's been hanging around the team at all for the past season and a half, you've heard this name several times. The Louisville, Texas native, right here in DFW, would love to come play for his hometown Dallas Cowboys team. And thanks to Gary Myers of the New York Daily News on Friday, basically putting it out there that the New York Jets and Jamal Adams are very far apart on any potential contract extensions, and they would like to see the former 2017 first-round pick play out his fourth season before they offer him a contract extension. Now, why is that worth noting? Because since 2011, only 4 defensive players out of 223 players taken in the first round have been given extensions prior to the beginning of their fourth season. Khalil Mack, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, all players who were winners of the Defensive Player of the Year award, but were not given new contracts until after their fourth season. So that's one point, at least from the Jets standpoint, that's worth noting, and why we've gotten to the point that we have here. If you remember, though, it was a season ago, right at the trade deadline, that the Jets and the Cowboys were actually rumored to be working on a deal. This is when this happened, okay? This story, dated October 29th, came right after the trade deadline. Jamal Adams denies he ever requested a trade, and the GM went behind his back. Now, that's not exactly what happened. As a matter of fact, the story that we actually got as it would come out was that the Jets weren't actively taking calls, but the Cowboys called and wanted to see what the price tag was on Jamal Adams. And at the time, according to Ian Rappaport, this is what they got as an answer, okay? The New York Jets were only willing to part with Adams for a first rounder and 2 second rounders. Okay? Again, check the tweet. That was on October 29th, right at the trade deadline. So a season ago, the Cowboys called the Jets, asked what it would cost to get Jamal Adams. They were told a first rounder and 2 seconds, and as you would expect, as I would expect, they hung up. Okay? A little bit of an absurd ask from the New York Jets at that point, but you can understand they're shooting for the moon. He's one of the brightest young stars in the entire NFL, and they've got him on a really cheap contract for at least the next several seasons. Currently, he's due to make $3.5 million this year, and the Jets have exercised his tag for the 2021 season that'll pay him just under $10 million. He wants a brand new deal worth somewhere in the range of probably $15 million per year. The highest paid safety, Eddie Jackson, just got an extension this offseason with the Bears for right around $14.5 million per season. So you would imagine that's what Jamal Adams is looking for, if not from the Jets, then from whoever would be willing to trade for him. And that's where the Cowboys come in. Now, the other interesting point that we got on Friday came from my good buddy, former colleague RJ Choppy of 105.3 The Fan, who tweeted out that Michael Irvin had let him know that the Jets were asking for a first and a third rounder in return for Jamal Adams at this point. So, since October of last season to now, the price has dropped from a first and 2 seconds to a first and a third. And that is where the Cowboys have found themselves apparently much more interested. We go to a tweet from our good friend Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports, who had this to say regarding the Cowboys' pursuit of Jamal Adams. He says in the tweet below there, you might not be able to see it, but he basically says, I can confirm that Michael Irvin is correct about the Jets' asking price for a first and a third. However, that conversation could be complicated by the fact that the Cowboys spurned them an offseason ago right at the trade deadline. Basically, this tweet is confirming, again, the Ian Rappaport tweet, that the Cowboys did make a call about Jamal Adams last year at the trade deadline, but they didn't like the asking price. Charles Robinson goes on to say that he doesn't think Michael Gallup would be included in any deal, that the two sides haven't spoke since the conversation they had at the trade deadline last season, and that at this point, there's nothing on the horizon. However, it's at least worth noting that the Cowboys are consistently involved in these conversations. And for that reason, I think at some point we could see Jamal Adams in a Cowboys uniform. I just don't think it's going to be yet. And it's because of that price tag conversation that we just had. It's because of the $15 million a year. And that kind of brings me to my second question here. And the reason I don't think it's going to happen right away, but I think it very well could happen as we get closer to the regular season, is once we get this question answered, who's really in charge? In the past, and quite frankly up to this point in the media, we're always told that Jerry Jones ultimately signs the checks. He gives the final write-off. But what we really saw, especially when it came to personnel, over the last close to a decade of Cowboys imperfections under Jason Garrett, that the head coach has quite a bit of say in terms of the personnel he applies to the scheme that he's ultimately going to use, right? We saw many, many times where Jason Garrett's scheme fit played a role in the selection of a player. And I'm not going to name names. It's not really important. But the point is, we need to answer this question. And right now, at least based on what they did in the 2020 draft, I'm not necessarily sure we're also sure this is the same answer as it has been in the past. Ultimately, if Mike McCarthy is given the opportunity to make that decision, then you would like to think he'd be given the opportunity to evaluate the players he currently has that might fill the position he would need. Clinton Dix, they signed in the offseason. Xavier Woods, obviously still going to be around these parts. He's going to give an opportunity to Chidobe Awuzie and see if he can move to the safety spot at all. Daryl Worley, they signed in the offseason from the Raiders, and who has some experience and starts at the safety position. So those are four guys that you would at least think the head coach of your Dallas Cowboys would like to get a look at before making any decisions about what they desperately need on the back end, especially when it comes to a player who, while very talented, will also come with a fairly steep price tag from both a draft capital standpoint and a salary cap standpoint. The final point that I want to make about why I don't think Jamal Adams is destined for the Cowboys just yet, but I still think he could be on the horizon, is that time's really on their side. I pointed out a little bit ago about the fact that the Ian Rappaport had tweeted and reported that back in October, the Jets were asking for a first and 2 second rounders. There's the tweet there. I go back to it. Since then, now, fast forward a couple months, they're asking for a first and a third rounder. And even with that report being out there, no one's running to the table to give that up. Why? Other teams have probably read about the affinity that Jamal Adams has for his hometown and the Dallas Cowboys. Other teams have probably read about the interest that the Dallas Cowboys have reportedly had. And you would think if there was a team out there willing to jump on the first and third price tag for Jamal Adams and thought they had a chance to sign him long term, they would have already done so. They would have taken that opportunity. So for me, if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I bide my time. You still have an opportunity to add Jamal Adams to your team at some point before the regular season starts or before the trade deadline when things maybe have gone south for the Jets at that point in the season. Either way, there's really no rush when it comes to making a move for Jamal Adams. I do think the Cowboys would be significantly improved and would instantly become, if not the top contender in the NFC, one of the top contenders in the NFC for the Super Bowl if they added Jamal Adams this offseason. But the name of the game, be patient, all right? Unlike Dak Prescott, where time is not on your side, July 15th is a steadfast date. If it's not done by then, he'll be on a contract for this season and this season alone. When it comes to Jamal Adams, I think the price drops every month that the Jets aren't able to find somebody to make a deal with the all-pro safety. So that's the video for you. If you liked what you saw, please smash that like button down below and subscribe to the link. Give me a comment on what you think they should maybe give up for Jamal Adams. I would jump to be honest with you, at the first and third. I would still offer that. But I think the Cowboys are playing a waiting game, and I don't begrudge them for it. Again, thanks for checking out the video. We'll get another one to you soon. I'm RW3. Peace.